to the X22 Report. My name is Dave. Today is Monday, and this is episode 3. Today we're going to talk about the proof that the economic collapse is upon us. We're going to go down a timeline of just economic news that I think is very important, all the way up to 2013. And 2013, there is a lot happening. But let's just go, and we're not going to talk anything about cyber attacks or wars and NDAA and all that stuff. We're just going to stay with the economics and just see what's happening to see if this all makes sense and use our common sense to say, hey, this doesn't seem right. There is definitely something wrong. In 2008, we saw the crash of the real estate bubble, and homeowners lost around $3.3 trillion in home equity. One of 6 homeowners were underwater in their mortgage, which I still believe they are today. I think it's just all, people have moved out. Foreclosures are still on the books, but they're not letting the foreclosures hit the market. They're keeping them because I know people that are foreclosed on their house, and they just left some of them are in their home, just not paying the mortgage, and some have left their homes and just left them, and nothing's been done. They're not even being counted as foreclosures. So, but let's just move on. In 2008, the Fed initiated quantitative easing 1, which they were going to buy $500 billion in mortgage-backed securities. We also had the TARP, I have to say that, in 2008, 2009, where we bailed out all the banks, and AIG, the insurance company, which I don't believe we should have. I think they should have just gone bankrupt, and I think we would have been better off. In quantitative easing 1, the Fed announced they were going to purchase $100 billion in debt obligations from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, and Federal Home Loans. And also the Fed cut the interest rate to 0. In 2010, we're going to move on to 2010 now, we had quantitative easing 2. The Fed continued to reinvest in payments on securities purchased during the QE1 program. They also began the $600 billion purchase of long-term Treasury securities. And we're going to move on to 2011 now. I mean, I know I'm going fast. We all know this stuff, but I'm just trying to paint a picture right here of all of this and what we're leading into. 2011, S&P downgrades U.S. credit from AAA to AA+. Now, in my lifetime, I've never seen this. I look back in history, never seen this before, where the United States was downgraded. To me, huge red flag right here that there is something wrong. But you talk to most people, and they don't even know what you're talking about. That what we were downgraded? I don't even know what that means. But that happened in 2011. 2012, we had quantitative easing 3 to infinity, where the Fed announced that they were going to buy $40 billion in mortgage-backed investments each month until the economy improves, and the unemployment rate drops. The central bank continues to sell short-term bonds and use the money to buy long-term bonds, and the Fed said they were going to keep the interest rates until about mid-2015. And it's funny because at the end of the year, in December, they announced that beginning of January, they were going to start, which I'm going to call quantitative easing 4, and they were going to start buying $85 billion, spend $85 billion per month to buy the bonds and mortgage-backed securities. And that really comes out to about $1 trillion a year that they're using to prop up the economy. Can you imagine if they just stop this? I mean, without all this money coming into the economy, to the banks, and buying these bonds, because first of all, who would buy these bonds? I mean, right now it's pretty much the Fed. There's hardly anyone else purchasing the Treasury bonds. Now that brings us to 2013. Now 2013, I mean, it's only March, the beginning of March, and I cannot believe how much has happened from the beginning of January to right now. I mean, a red flag to me is Germany wants its 674 tons of gold back. Now, to me, when somebody asks for something, like, I want my gold back, you normally you give it. You say, okay, here you go. But it's funny how the Fed kind of said no to them and said, you know what, we'll give it back to you in 7 years. And it just, to me, red flag right there. And that, now, why can't they give them their gold? It makes no sense to me. Right now, our debt is approaching $17 trillion. It's funny because when we had the sequester, right before, on February 27th, the national debt went up $80 billion on February 28th, right before March 1st, which I find very interesting. And it just pushed the national debt up $80 billion. In the news today, we have personal income, which drops to the lowest monthly amount in 20 years. Personal income decreased by $500 billion. Americans have more credit card debt than money in the bank right now. And I don't know about you, but purchasing a car is out of reach for most Americans. You have to realize, I mean, if you really think about it, and you think about, oh, is the dollar really losing its value? Is it really getting harder to purchase? Well, think about it. If we go back to the 70s, where you can pick up a car for $4,000 or $5,000, there was really no financing back then. You paid cash. So your money was definitely worth more back then. As we move into the 80s, people couldn't pay cash anymore. So we turned to financing to make monthly payments over 3 to 4 years. And when we got to the late 80s, early 90s, actually payments went to about 5 years. And that was with financing. When financing for automobiles got too expensive, they started something else called leasing, which is really, you're renting your car. You don't even own it. You're renting it, which made the payments a lot less so people can afford the cars. And the payments were so much less that people were getting fancier cars. And financing, actually, I mean, I have a friend who had to finance a car for 7 years. They're financing, because they didn't want to lease, they're financing a car for 7 years, making payments on a car for 7 years. This is how you know your dollar is losing its purchasing power. Because if it wasn't, you'd be able to pay cash for your car. They wouldn't need all these gimmicks to help people along to pay for something. Today, I mean, the young adults coming out of colleges, I mean, their student loans are so large, and right now it is so hard for them to find a job. I mean, I know a couple of people just graduating, they cannot find anything, and if they do, the amount of money that they're receiving is extremely low. We also heard in the news that Walmart sales are a disaster. I mean, they're blaming it on that people haven't gotten their tax returns. Because, I mean, really, you're basing your sales on just tax returns for what? Okay, it makes no sense to me. They're getting their tax returns, and they're that's going to take care of all the sales for the rest of the year. And I also hear that Walmart is having a problem because of sales are so low. They're having a problem restocking their shelves. And I was in a Walmart, and it was funny. Before this news even came out, I was with my wife, and we were looking around, and we were buying things. And I did say to her at that point, how come the shelves look so empty? They don't seem as it doesn't seem like they have as much as they used to. And it's funny that this came out afterwards, because I did realize that when I was in the Walmart. Now, the next big thing, now I know everyone's trying to spin this as the economy is getting better. Now, if the economy is really getting better, would stores be closing? Let's use really think about it. If the economy is improving, unemployment's coming down, and everything is just rosy, why would there be store closing? Why would Walmart say sales are a disaster? Why would they have a problem stocking their shelves? Because to me, when an economy is doing well, people are spending, more stores are opening. I mean, you know what I see opening? which is strange because as I'm driving around, I see bank branches opening all over the place, and that kind of disturbs me. What if, I mean, in today's world where everything is online, all banking online, why do we need so many bank branches? I mean, this is in my area. I mean, I see Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo building these buildings and opening banks, the branches all over the place. To me, it just, I feel in my gut, I feel that there's something just not right about it. But again, if the economy is getting better, why do we have store closings? Best Buy announced they're going to be closing between 200 to 250 stores. Sears, 100 to 125. Kmart, 175 to 225. J.C. Penney, not really shocking. I don't even shop in J.C. Penney or actually Sears, but I mean J.C. Penney, I don't even know how they were staying open. They were closing between 300 and 350 stores. Office Depot, 125 to 150. Barnes and Noble, again, everything. I mean, Borders went out of business. Everything is online, especially now you have the Kindle, the Nook. I mean, people just downloading the books. Why do you need these big stores? You really don't. So Barnes and Noble, 190 to 240. GameStop. Actually, I was shocked about this. To me, if the gaming industry is having a problem and they're going to be closing 500 to 600 stores, to me, this is people who have extra income are not spending money on getting these expensive games. This is a huge red flag. Office Max, 150 to 175 stores, and Radio Shack, 450 to 550 stores. I mean, to me, things don't close down when the economy's doing well. They don't contract, they expand. When the economy is doing well, just think back. When the economy is doing well, people are spending. I'm doing well, I'm making money, I'm getting raises, everything is good. I go out and I spend money. When things are tight, when you're imposing more taxes on me, the United States income is dropping. People who've lost their jobs can't even find a job that has the same salary. They're accepting less now, but doing the same job, or have two or three jobs to make up for the one that they did have. And everyone has this nervous feeling about, will I have my job tomorrow? So to me, when they tell you the economy's doing well, all of this should not be happening. I also like to use Shadow Stats, which is a good place to go, shadowstats.com, because he compares his stats of the way it was done in the late 70s, early 80s to the way they manipulated the statistics that they use today. And he is showing, John at shadowstats.com, he's showing that unemployment is approaching 25% compared to the U.S. numbers, which are 8%, which I personally think the U.S. numbers are bogus, because I think if they told everyone what the real numbers were, there'd be panic on the street. And I think they can hide a lot of stuff. I think they can hide a lot of stuff with the food stamp program. And it's funny, when people say food stamps, I don't know if everyone knows this, but they don't use food stamps anymore. Like, maybe in some places, but the people that I know, it looks like a credit card. It has a flag on it, and you go into a store and you swipe it, just like a credit card. If you ever watch people go into a supermarket, I mean, there's certain things you're allowed to buy with it. Look at their card. If it looks like an American flag, I forgot what it says on front, but this is how they're doing it today. It's so hidden that you don't notice who's on it, who's not on it. And I mean, we're pretty much around 50% of the American people using this, and that's why you don't see the food lines. You don't see any of this. But he's showing unemployment approaching, and I do believe this, because if just think about all your friends and your family, do you know at least 4 people that are underemployed or out of work. And if you do, you know that there is a problem. Because I'm going to tell you, during the good times, normally you do not see this. You don't know 3, 4, 5 people that are out of work. Now, Russia and China, which is very interesting. Why would these two countries be acquiring gold? Tons of it. I mean, not just a little. They're really purchasing gold. I mean, if you go onto us.debtclock.org, and it's a very simple test you can do, take a screenshot on your computer of today. Well, when you go onto us.debtclock.org, go to the bottom and it says gold and silver purchases, and it has a list by country. Take a screenshot for today. Next week, and don't forget to save off the screenshot. Next week, go to usdebtclock.org, look at your screenshot, and look at what they purchased. And you'll see that the numbers continually go up compared to the United States and the other countries, and they go up quite a bit. So, I mean, that's basically where I'm showing that, where I'm seeing it. I've been tracking it from last year, and they are purchasing. I mean, again, this is what's shown there. I'm sure there's more, but this is how you can see what's really going on. Recently in the news, United Kingdom, they were just downgraded from AAA to AA1, which, again, when have we ever heard this before? Not in my lifetime, and I'm 47. I've never heard of the United States or the United Kingdom being downgraded. And I'm going to say, since we're on the subject of downgrading, I find this very, very interesting that the United States is suing S&P and stopping Egan-Jones, which they've been banned for 18 months, from rating anything. Because I'm telling you right now, the reason why the government did this was to stop them from downgrading the United States. Personally, it doesn't really matter. Downgrade, I mean, the first time we were downgraded, Geithner, they were like, they were angry. So to stop it this time, basically, they're blaming S&P for the 2008, which all the credit rating agencies were rating every single of those asset, those securities, AAA with real estate. But they decided to sue S&P either to make an example of them, to stop the others. But I'm telling you right now, there's only one reason at this point in time that you do this, because they were about to downgrade. Talking about the rating agencies, let's look at Moody's right now. Now, Moody's is very interesting. Moody's ratings often do not reflect its analysis' private conclusions. I mean, these are some of the questions, and this guy, I forgot his name, is coming out and making accusations that Moody's is kind of, not really rating companies and securities the way it should. I mean, they're rating securities on the basis to make their clients happy and not really rate what the security should be rated. And to me, I think this needs to be investigated, and which I think they are doing right now, but not really in the news. But this, to me, is a red flag that something is going on. And, something is not right, especially when the government is suing S&P. To hear more of this show, go to X22Report.com. That's X22Report.com. If you like what I'm doing, please give me some likes and comment. Let me know what you think, and come on over to x22report.com and hear the rest of the show. Thanks.